Hey world, it's been when to come back with another video. Family, I want to come back with this video because it's disheartening because, you know, so many times you get caught in a situation where you begin to believe that things are what you think your reality is. You dig? It's kind of like the Matrix. I mean, because we grow up and a majority of your parents, you raise you to do the right thing. A lot of us is Christian based, or any other religion based. There's a certain or similar tenet that everyone kinds to follow when it comes to doing the right thing. You know, do unto others as you want them to do unto you. You dig? And so when you are predominantly, you know, focused on your heaven being after you die, then you're not conscious of the things that are going on right now. Okay? Even though there are hard times right now, like right now with this coronavirus thing, they shut us down. Even though constitutionally it's really unconstitutional. This is why they have what they call the 10 amendments. Like we have our rights. You have the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Third Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, all the way to the 10th Amendment, where the 10th Amendment actually deals with states' rights. Where states, outside of federalism, can dictate what goes on inside their states. And so for the government to come in and say, no, we're going to shut down the whole nation and tell grown-ass men that they can't go here, can't go there, as if, we're not, mature enough or conscious enough to go outside and be conscious of the fact that, okay, hey, if I'm not feeling well, if I'm sick, I'm going to stay inside. I don't need the government telling me that. If I go out and about and I see someone that I think is sick, I'm going to social distance myself on GP. I don't need the government telling me that. And for the government to shut down basketball parks, trail parks, fishing holes, but golf courses are open. I mean, come on, man. It's a ridiculous notion, you dig, that they dictating what they can open, what they're going to close, what they find essential, what they find non-essential. And it's like over 300 million people here. And we let it ride as if we don't have any rights. And it blows me away because it's not how it's supposed to be, family. You hear about these numbers, and not one time have they told you about the number of people that are recovering from the coronavirus and how they was treated. You dig? And so it's like, let's make sure we keep things in perspective. I was just on the wire last night, and President Trump wanted to shut down the USPS. And what is that? The United States Postal Service. Not only shut it down intentionally, because remember, if you familiar with the U.S. Postal Service, see, I'm old school. I remember when that was pretty much the only outlet you had in order to send packages, to send mail, right? But then, of course, there was FedEx and all these other entities that come along, and now the post office, is losing a lot of money. But guess what? It was still considered a federal agency, because it was still under the guise of Congress. Well, the last 30 years, this hasn't been like that. And back in the day, U.S. postal workers used to be considered federal employees. Now, U.S. postal workers are considered postal employees. And in 2018, President Trump, formed a coalition or formed what they call a Postal Service Task Force to basically just break up the post office system, to privatize it, to sell parts of the post office off to private entities. Now, you know what's going to happen when that happens. They're going to basically just scrap the pension plan and give these guys 401ks where they know they're going to steal their money. Anytime it's privatized, and remember, Trump set up this task force. Consists of 3 people that he selected, plus the postmaster and her deputy. So it's a 5-person task force where 3 of them were picked by Trump. This was in 2018. Congress put $25 billion in the stimulus package to protect the U.S. Postal Service. Trump scrapped it. And then his excuse is, well, they've been losing money for years. But if you can bail out the airline industry, the hotel industry, the car industry, the banking industry, you can bail out all these industries, but you can't, allot money for the Postal Service? I'm kind of pissed off because my uncle, worked for the Postal Service for many, many years. And so what do you think going to happen to the U.S. Postal Service when they privatize it? Okay, this is Make America Great Again. You know why? Because it goes all the way back to President Reagan in 1980, where there was the largest tax cut for the rich ever. And since then, no other president since Reagan has changed that. Remember, in 1980, the rich, if you made over $1 million, you was taxed like 80%, 90% on your marginal tax rate. Now, if you're making all that money, you only tax 37%. But a person that's making $65,000 a year tax 25%. See how there's a big discrepancy? You see how we're always going to be in a deficit? Because if you don't have people paying their share amount in taxes, then you never have enough money in revenue. But when you allow all these loopholes and provisions for corporations to not only not pay their share of taxes, but pay less than someone making $65,000 a year, corporate tax rate is like 20%, 15%. And then you raise the amount of money they can donate to charity, but guess what? It's charity with people that's politicians on the board. So it's not even a fair system, family. And you think about shareholders right now that companies talking about eliminating dividends. So this coronavirus, who's it really affecting? The U.S. Postal Service is about to be scrapped, even though Congress allotted $25 billion for it. And now by June 1st, they're going bankrupt. And I don't know if you know this, family, but for many years, the U.S. Postal Service does not receive any money from the government, any taxpayer money. They survive on sales. And so when you bring in FedEx, you bring in Amazon, and if you looked at President Trump's press conference yesterday, what did he say? They need to raise prices. They need to raise the prices. So basically what Trump is saying is they need to raise the prices so we will have to pay more in postal services, just so the Postal Service can be alive instead of them bailing them out like they bail everybody else out, family. You did? So if I just want to come back with a little food for thought, I hope everybody's staying safe, staying conscious, and realizing that everything isn't. Okay? Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, family. In the meantime, between time, may the Most High Inside you bring you joy. And being with us out of 5,000.